we find in this week's Parsha, Teitze, and the truth is it's also a continuing theme in next week's Parsha, Kisavo. Teitze is coming out and Kisavo is coming in. Before we come to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Yom Noraim, where we talk about coming back in, we first have to speak about coming out, about leaving, about the whole year, how we really did not live up to our expectations. That's Teitze. And Kisavo is coming back in. Coming back in before Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, we have to really understand what it means to be coming out and coming in. And there's a lot of mitzvahs in this parsha, many, many mitzvahs. And if you analyze it, I think it's a very profound message for our generation, where liberalism has basically destroyed almost every single boundary possible. And I'm talking now about adultery, rape, gender change, prostitution, usury, kidnapping, slander, and larceny are amongst some of the mitzvahs in the parsha. And it's interesting that all of these very radical and off the chart illicits, transgressions are all you put together. It would seem to be, if the Torah puts them all together, there must be some sort of connection between all of them. We really have to understand what is it all about and why is it really so bad. We know they're all bad. These are all very major transgressions. And even society, at least at one time, they were considered terrible things. So now, what is it about this, especially things like gender change and other things that are in the limelight today? Stealing is, someone just told me yesterday that in America, it's pretty common now. People of different nationalities walk in the store and just take things, and it's not considered stealing anymore. It's considered a expression of one's state of being persecution. Stealing has left the category of a felony, and it's become an expression of persecution. So what's really going on here with all of these mitzvahs? And the Torah doesn't pull any punches. So let's try to, for the next few minutes, try to analyze this and try to understand. Let's start with adultery. What's wrong with really adultery? The Torah speaks about adultery here. It speaks about na'amuras, in fact, a woman who is not a fully married Nasuya, and only Erison, only the Kinyan. Right? There's really two parts to marriage. There's the Erison, which is the Kinyan, the acquisition, and then there's Nasuyan, which is bringing her into your home. In the times of Chazal, it was done two parts. Today, it's all done at once under the chuppah. And if you think about it, and really, as we'll see in all these other transgressions, right? Prostitution, adultery, right? The chomer, the severity of these transgressions is misappropriation, right? Somebody else's wife, somebody else's body. Now, you're misappropriating. That's not what it's for. The Torah tells marriage is kedushin, marriage is holiness. Kedushin, in fact, the Gemara says, "Hayat mukadeshesli." Mukadeshes means miyuchedes miyuedes. You specify and designate one woman, right? Hey, in the times of Chazal, there was a concept of a man having more than one wife. Today, that's the minhag is not to do that. But designating one relationship, and even if it's a man who has a few wives, at least all these are designated relationships. Relationships which are just spurious, that are motivated by passion and lust. Yeah, that's misappropriation. Hashem gave us kedushin, gave us holiness for the purpose of bringing more neshamas into this world. And a person who engages in adultery and prostitution and the other transgressions, similar types of transgressions related in the parsha, other parshas, is misappropriation. Now, what about gender changes? There are a source for gender change on Parsha. In fact, I believe there is on a lower level. Lo Silbash. What wrote Silbash? I believe it's the Sefer Chinuch says Lo Silbash. The idea of Lo Silbash is not that a man shouldn't dress up like a woman and a woman shouldn't dress like a man, because it's for the wrong purposes. Yeah, it's for the wrong purposes, right? So the Torah was referring to more immoral purposes, but I believe that it's the same thing over here, right? What's going on today, right? Hashem gave you a gender. Hashem said you're neshama. This is the neshama of a man or neshama of a woman, right? And Hashem designated that gender for you, right? You're not supposed to change your gender. You're not supposed to act like somebody else. You're not supposed to be like someone else. It might be difficult. You might have certain drives to do otherwise, but everyone has drives to do otherwise, right? We all, as we said many times here, Ruben Gezel, Mora Heter, right? The Gemara says, Chazal tell us, Gezel Arayis, Nafshal Adam, Matavasam, Machmadasam, Moed. A person really desires stealing and other transgressions that have to do with other genders. So this is, I believe, an important outlook on what's going on in the world today. Gender change is misappropriation. Hashem gave you one thing. You're not supposed to change it for something else. You're not supposed to, it's illicit usage of the male or female gender, right? And I think this is even coming to head today. It's coming to head today. Someone told me that one of the top female swimming competitors is actually a man, right? But he thinks he's a woman. I don't know, he had an operation, or he didn't have an operation. Whatever it might be, he associates with women, he feels like he's a woman, he puts on makeup, I don't know exactly what he did, but he considered himself a woman, and he's winning many swimming competitions, and the women are getting upset. They can't win anything anymore because male bodies are different than female bodies. Hashem gave you that gender, it's a reason. And usury, larceny, stealing, taking interest, it's the same thing. So Hashem gave people money. Hashem gave people a certain amount of money, right? If you decide because you want to use your money to take someone else's money, right? You want to lend money to people and you can take their money away. Now, business is encouraged. Business is not forbidden. Although the Torah has laws of onoah, there's a certain amount of profit you're allowed to make. But when it comes to usury, why is it called usury? Usury because you're really using the other person. You're using his money, you're using his wealth in order to give wealth for yourself. And the Torah frowns on this. Kidnapping, as the word implies, taking someone else's kid, someone else's child, right? All of the kidnapping, misappropriation of someone else's child, of someone else's life, and finally slander. People have a reputation. People work their whole lives to build a reputation, and in a few minutes, you can come along and just destroy it. So all of these transgressions, and there are more. I just picked the ones that were most radical and stuck out the most. But they're all going on today, and they're all becoming more and more accepted. And perhaps the reason is because we haven't accepted that they've been appropriated. In order to have misappropriation, there has to be appropriation. If we accept that Hashem gave us our gender, He gave us our money, He gave us our spouse, He gave us our reputation, then we'll be more careful when it comes to illicit usage of someone else's. But if we don't believe that our gender is from Hashem, or our bodies, or our spouses, or our money, or our reputation, or anything for that matter, then we won't feel so empowered, inspired, driven to be careful when it comes to somebody else's, because we don't believe it about ourselves. And this you see also, people are cremating themselves. Because why not? Why shouldn't I? People understand that their body is a gift from God. It's the kli, it's the utensil which houses their soul. And it's a very, very powerful powerful instrument we have in this world to live in this world and to do mitzvahs, then they would be much more hesitant to burn their bodies and spread it over the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean, depending on which coast you live on. So we really have to, when we learn this parsha and coming towards Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Seres Tshuva, we have to be shaken up a little bit. Because probably most people listening to the shir, are not involved with adultery, rape, gender change, prostitution, usury, kidnapping, slander, and larceny. Although you never know. I don't know everyone who's listening. And I don't want to offend anybody, although I do sometimes. But still, we all, on some level, misappropriate. Right? Kulam ba'avak lashon hara. Everybody speaks about lashon. Everybody, to some extent, touches on someone else's reputation. Everyone, to some extent, misappropriates. It might be you're walking in the streets and there is a person dressed improperly, and you might look at it. You might look at them and get pleasure from that. Yeah? Well, that's misappropriation. Hashem didn't give us our bodies to flaunt them for that reason. Yeah, that's not why Hashem gave beauty. That's not why Hashem gave attraction between the genders. That's misappropriation. Yeah? And if you misappropriate, then you're doing a serious transgression. And that's what Teitze is really all about. Going out of the boundaries that Hashem gave us. And in order to stay within these boundaries, you have to define yourself. Really, Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, is about knowing who you are, defining yourself. What do you want and where are you going? And it's not an easy task. Most people don't know where they're going. A young man came to me last week and I started speaking to him. And he said, basically, I have no idea where I'm going. Right? I said, listen, that's the first question you have to answer. As the Mesilas Yesharim says, the first question every Jew has to answer is what are you doing here? Why did Hashem put you in the world? Right? Why does Hashem make you and not someone else? Why does Hashem make you a man and not a woman? Why does Hashem give you this spouse and not another spouse? Why does Hashem give you this amount of money and not another amount of money? Right? Why does Hashem make you who you are? Right? A person might be handicapped. He might be sick. He might be mentally incompetent. He might be psychologically, I don't like mentally incompetent. He might not be so smart. Or he might be so smart. I heard recently, one of my son's friends got married, and he said the girl was so smart that she couldn't find the shidduch. Right? She was off the charts smart. It's also considered special education, as I remember from my college days. So all of these concepts, they all define self-definition, and this is what we're meant to be doing now in El. If we know who we are, then we could stand in front of Hashem proudly and say, "This is who I am." Right? This is who I am. And listen, a person might have problems in these areas, right? And if they, as we say in America, they stand up to the plate and they deal with it, this is what Hashem wants. Yeah? If you have a desire for something which is very, very wrong, yeah, and you deal with it, yeah, then you're considered a great person. Because that's Teitze Milchama. They're all battles. All of these challenges. This is why the parsha starts with a war and it finishes with war. Teitze Milchama, and it finishes off with the Milchamas Amalek. And Amalek is all about destroying definitions. Destroying this definition ourselves. Amalek is Gematria Suffolk. He says, who says a man's supposed to be a man? Who says a woman's supposed to be a woman? Who says this? Who says prostitution and rape are forbidden? Who says you can't just go into a store and start filling your bag up with someone else's possessions? As long as it's under $1,000. Someone told me in LA they started marking up everything's over $1,000 and they just give discounts now. What can you do? But all of it depends on definitions. Defining yourself. And unless we define ourselves, then we can't stand up in front of Hashem in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Because if we don't know who we are, right, then we're lost. Yeah. The first thing we have to know is, as Mr. Sharm says, she's Adam. Clarify to yourself, who are you and what are you doing here and what's your purpose in the world, right? And when a person gets that clear, it's amazing. Their life is so much different. They have a clarity what they're doing and where they're going and where to spend their time. I remember one Chashav um, Rev Gershenfeld. I once asked him a certain question for something. He said, "That's not in my mission statement," and I was very impressed how clear his mission statement was. It was like very focused. Right, the more clear, the more clear your mission statement is, the more that you'll be successful in life in fulfilling your unique purpose in this world, and to come to a complete clarity. Why are you here? What are you doing here? And achieve that purpose. So, Siyata Dishmaya Tsuma, Shem should help us in this very, very difficult avoda. And of course, during El and Seres Meichu, we have special Siyata Dishmaya. We should use that Siyata Dishmaya, right? We should use that Siyata Dishmaya to come to complete clarity about ourselves and who we are and what we're doing here and what we're meant not to do, right? Which is what this parsha is all about. What's called misappropriation? Once we know from the darkness, we can learn about the light. From the negative, we can learn the positive. Learning this parsha and next week's parsha and seeing what it means to come out and to come in can really help us. Learning what it means to come out can really help us to understand what it means to come in. Shem should help all of us in this endeavor. Amen. Son.